Sorry, Mola.
Thank you, George. Okay, good evening, everyone. Today is Tuesday, May 28th. The time is 5:01 p.m. We have an agenda tonight that is to go over the mayor's presented budget for fiscal year 2025. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councillor Walsh.
Present.
Present. Councillor Allen.
Present.
Present. Councillor Delgado. Absent. Councillor Click Bruce.
Present.
Present. Councillor Govan.
Present.
Present. Councillor Brown. Absent. Councillor Davila. Absent. Councillor Curran. Absent. Councillor Santinella.
Present.
Present. Councillor Edwards.
Present.
Present. Councillor Whitfield. Absent. Councillor Perez. Absent. Councillor Fenton.
Present. Will the clerk please recognize the counselor in seat number 6?
Councillor Davila.
Brown.
Oh, Brown.
Counselor Brown.
Present. I can't hear you.
Thank you.
Present.
Okay, will the council and our guests please rise for a moment of silence? Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you all. Madam Clerk, will you please call the first item?
The first item on the agenda is the FY25 budget, general fund.
Okay, councilors, we are joined by His Honor the Mayor and his complete complement of department heads and finance team. Welcome, Mr. Mayor. We'd love to hear some introductory remarks from you about this year's proposed budget.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, council members. If we could just take a moment of silence. Our building commissioner's dad, Steve Desolet's father, just passed away this past Sunday. So if we can just take a moment of silence, please. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And to the council, thank you for your due diligence. CAFO Kathy Bunno told me and the meetings went very, very well, and I appreciate your review and consideration of this budget. I also want to thank Kathy Bunno and the whole finance team for their efforts. And I really want to thank my cabinet heads and department heads. I asked them to sharpen their pencils when they put the budget in. It was not the past few years where we had a tremendous amount of wish list things. I asked them to come across with maybe one wish list thing if strategically and sustainability-wise we could do it, and they did, as you can see with the budget, and so I really appreciate their efforts immensely. To think that this coming Saturday will be 13 years marking the devastating EF3 tornado that tore up a third of this city. We've come a long way. And while other municipalities across the state and school systems are cutting services and making layoffs, we are not doing that. This budget that I offer to you for your consideration is efficient, effective, strategic, and compassionate. And again, we've come from the brink of bankruptcy to the highest bond ratings in the city's history. This is the 10th consecutive year that this budget has been balanced without the use of reserves. The budget is nearing $1 billion. It's $928 million, $700,000. Now, Basically, though, 82% of that budget is non-discretionary, $761 million already spoken for, which only leaves about 18% for us, about $167 million on it. Two-thirds of that budget, or 68%, is on the school side, which is $627 million. Our side is just barely over $300 million, 32% of the budget. Now, you know, with schools with the ed reform and the continued funding that comes, the state is ponied up about $506 million for schools. We're hopefully, when the state okays the budget, we might get about $46 million in change in local aid, which is only about $1.3 million in increase moving forward. Inflation rate is about 3.5, 3.6%. If I take out the big budget busters, school busing transportation, which is about $43 million, an increase of about $4.7 million, and we worked with Superintendent Warwick and his team to knock that down about $1 million. And then working with City Councilor and Finance Chair Tim Allen, this was a pet peeve of his, as mine, and also Council President Fenton, the pension liability. We've been very, very aggressive on that, and that'll be about $67 million total, which is about $5.7 million. You take those two budget busters out, and again, inflation rate is 3.5, 3.6%. Our budget goes up 2.5%, 2.5%. So that, you know, needs to be noted as we move forward. We continue to put in, we keep a healthy rainy day account for when it might be needed. We build that upon the city side of the budget. So by ordinance and by statute, I think we're about 7.4%, nearing 8%. That's on the overall budget. If you go just on our side, it's 22%, about 23% of our budget in reserves for when we might need it on rainy day accounts to keep things going. And again, on the non-discretionary, you're talking about health insurance, pension, debt service, utilities, labor contracts, OTPS, you name it, and that we have to make sure that we fund those things as we move forward. I want to commend the Finance Division again. I think 12th consecutive year, the Government Finances Award Certificate of Excellence, and I think we're either 16 or 17 years of another national award that we've been able to move forward on. Tax relief, I will continue to work with the City Council. You know, we've been very aggressive the last couple of years when we were able to put in a good amount of money. We're going to work on a step-down type aspect. Again, the real estate market continues to still be very hot, and I've already committed, and this was working with City Council President Attorney Mike Fenton. We're the first in the Commonwealth to do it. Probably the only good thing that came out of this inflation or the COVID worldwide pandemic was the T-bills, Treasury bills, bonds, which are about 5.5%. So we've been able to invest our money to turn around to get $2 million, and I will use to start another $1 million and continue to work with the council to get it up to $3 million on the tax relief aspects. We cannot mortgage our future with unsustainable type relief programs that cannot be sustained, and then you set up for huge balloon payments. Working with the council also too, we decreased the age from 70 to 65 for our seniors. We increased the abatement amount that you can get from $500 to $1,000. But again, I don't want to mortgage the future, and I don't want us to turn around and have a balloon payment for the next following year. So as we continue to move forward, we're going to look at other things pertaining to that are sustainable and not unrealistic or short terms. And again, this is going to continue to work on public education, public safety, neighborhood improvements, economic development as we move forward. So when you look upon it, we have to be cognizant that the tea leaves show on the state level a decrease in revenues. Also with the migrant crisis, that is a ballooning budget item on the state that could balloon up to $2 billion to more dollars, and that money has to come from somewhere. So we have to be prepared for the ebb and flow of local, state, and federal issues. And if a recession is to hit, that's when we're going to really need those rainy day accounts for fiscal stability and sustainability. So as we continue to move forward, I'm going to continue to work on good four-letter words of creating jobs. And I'm just going to give you some highlights from the cabinet heads and department heads that this budget buys, and many of the things that city councilors have advocated for me for their neighborhoods too. On capital asset construction, Pete Garvey, who's done a wonderful job. When you look at all the schools that we've built, new schools and rehab schools, that's $750 million, the most in Commonwealth of Massachusetts. DeBerry, Swan, Brightwood, Lincoln, award-winning schools. Some of those schools were built in the 1890s. You also look upon the new state-of-the-art field at Central High School, the turf field, baseball, softball, lacrosse, the college sports complex that are there. The new Duggan field, Ted Plum Field, Coach Ted Plum, which I said we're going to bring back, and that's going to be opening up shortly at Duggan. Code enforcement is fully funded. I know that's very, very important for our neighborhoods, and that's fully funded for administrative inspectional personnel services. I thank Building Commissioner Steve Desilets, Deputy Mark Hebert is here, and Housing Code Enforcement Director Keith O'Connor. We keep our Mayor's Clean City program going. Building Department in the very near future will have OpenGov software package where you can go online for permitting process. We've been working on that for a while. DPW, and I know Chris Signoli is here and his team have done a great job. Something that we worked with the City Council a half a dozen years ago or less. The sidewalk crew, which has been very successful. The single stream trash and recycling, free yard waste pickup at your curb continues on that. And then we're rolling out now in many of our neighborhoods, you've already seen it, the safe streets and roads. You continue to see that we do that for pedestrian, vehicular, and bicycle traffic, and I think we're going to end up doing, Chris, about 20-something across the 25 across, and you've already seen crosswalks, hawker lights, and other going up all across our neighborhoods. That came from a lot of the neighborhood meetings we had during COVID. Economic development, Tim Sheehan, who's away, he's on Zoom right now, has done a great job, he and his team there. You know, you hear about all the sexy projects. You know, you have the Main Street, State Street, the overlay district, the new garage coming at the Civic Center, and all the other major projects. But the big thing here is housing. And we have about another 500 units coming on board. Gemini site is moving forward. 31 Elm Court Square is opened up. Knox Firestone, Councilor Brown, we worked very closely on that. That is opened up. We'll have an official grand opening on that in the near future. State Street Corridor continues. The old school department building, excuse me, and the old welfare department building across where Commissioner Helen Calton Harris is, that's going to be housing as we move forward. So that's a big thing. Housing is so desperately needed, whether it's market rate, whether it's workforce development, or whether it's assisted housing, we're going to have that. Our school department, again, Superintendent Warwick, tremendous job. He will go down as the best superintendent we've ever had in the city's history. He's going to be missed sorely. The funding there has moved our rates, graduation rates when I took over, nearly, it was about 50%, 86%. Dropout was as high as 14%. We were as low as 1.9 pre-COVID, now we're around 3%. But the big thing about investing in our young people, we're the first in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts offering full, universal, free pre-K throughout the school system. And we just put in another 17 more preschool classes on it. We've increased mental health counseling with the COVID-19 pandemic. That affected a lot of our students. So we've done that tremendously. The schools, we're going to be up to $1 billion now. A new Harena school will come down to the North End area, and we worked very closely with that, with Councilor Maria Perez. Excuse me. Elder Affairs, and Roy Goodman has taken over, and he's done a very good job. Bought the buses, bought the mini buses, and now we have the trips. I have drivers now. We continue to provide free hot lunches to our seniors. Transportation coordinator position has been fully funded, and again, that's under the auspices of Cabinet Head Helen Calton Harris. All our satellite sites are open. Riverview, Hungry Hill, Claudio Concepcion, Fitness Center is redone down in the north end area. And of course, our crown jewel, the Raymond A. Jordan Senior Center, which is just tremendous, all the programs that we have going on there. Fiscal responsibility, I indicated already with Kathy and Lindsay, the whole crew. They're about there. It was 17th year in a row, the Government Finance Association Award. You have the comprehensive plan, stabilization fund. We continue to aggressively fund our pension liability. We're paying for things that weren't done many, many years ago, before our time on that, so we continue to do that. All contractual agreements are honored on the city side and on the school side, including our food service on the school side. Matter of fact, the Boston Globe did a wonderful article commending what we do with our food services, Sedesco, on, I think it was in today's paper. We also have the Department of Technical Assistance and Compliance, City's Responsible Employer Ordinance. I know that's near and dear to Councilor Melvin Edwards, Vice President Hart. And we also created the second in the Commonwealth. We have the Minority and Women Business Enterprise Certification Office right here in the city of Springfield. I get Jay Swan heads that for me. Second to Boston, so we can continue to cultivate and expand businesses. And again, it's all fully funded moving forward. Health and Human Services, the elegant and eloquent Commissioner of Health and Human Services. And now everybody knows why public health is so important after the pandemic. They're fully funded. Education, inspection, sampling, monitoring, enforcing the federal, state, local codes pertaining to public health. The opioid settlement, which is 16 years, but we fronted a lot of money, Helen and I, to the fire department, police department, and health department for their outreach on it, and then they are fully funded again, the Office of Racial Equity, Cannabis Compliance, Problem Gambling, and Public Health and Preparedness. Libraries, I know Molly is here, and you see some of the surrounding towns, cities are shutting down their libraries. All our libraries stay open. Matter of fact, we're going to expand. Besides building a new library, East Forest Park, and expanding those hours, working with Councilor Allen, we're going to expand the East Springfield library. That'll be expanded. So East Forest Park and Mason Square, Councilor Brown, 4 nights a week, continues on that. Read, Write, and Now adult literacy program. Hotspots continue. And again, the expansion of the East Springfield neighborhood library. And we worked with Councilor Fenton on that. Parks and Recreation, to my former Chief of Staff, Tom Ash. Done a great job there. The Clean City program continues. Tommy McCarthy, what a great job he and his crew do. And I also have Roca on board. Second chance for these individuals. Director Solomon Bayman does a great job, and they're helping us out on that. Youth golf lessons coming back at Franconia Golf Course, or middle school kids, free of charge on that. Tree stumps, Sheriff's, that continues moving forward, a great forestry division under Alex Sherman. Downtown crew with all our parks being kept, Da Vinci, Emerson White, Riverfront, Court Square, Stern Square, Pynchon Plaza, all neighborhood parks. This maintenance will also provide 20 city terraces to make sure they're properly groomed. Camp Angelina, Camp Star, Angelina, fully open, state-of-the-art for our disabled children. All pools and splash pads will be open for families to enjoy the summer months. All rec programs, schools, evening gyms will be open. Summer concerts will start shortly. Movies in the park will start shortly. And that means a lot to a lot of our community there. Stay tuned for pickleball courts. Councilor LeVar Click Bruce at the Claudio Concepcion Greenleaf Center there. And then we continue on horticultural center that we look to build there to do what Smith College does. And then to Councilor Zeta Gavan, Loon Pond Park finally reopened with combination state funding. Came across with the other there, and people love it over there. What a tremendous job that's been done there. That was decrepit. It was in terrible condition and views, and we have that Loon Pond Park reopened. And as I said before, the Ted Plum Field. Greenleaf Park, Tim Allen and others there. If you look at Greenleaf Park and LeVar, your home turn, the back of Greenleaf Park is completely transformed. That's been done over. And parks are very important. I know growing up, my revere was Forest Park and Emerson White, and parks are important to our people. Gurdonville Park, that's in Liberty Heights there with Maria Perez. You're finally going to get that bike and skate park, and it's also going to have splash pads, which will be very important for our young people. Last thing I'll say with the parks, we continue the fantastic partnership with Sheriff Nick Coach on the patrols that go on in our parks, the horses, and it's just been a wonderful complimentary on top of our police department and our major parks such as Forest Park. And they're dedicated there with the mounted patrol, the therapy dogs, and unit, and they worked very closely under the auspices of Police Superintendent Larry Akers. So that has been a home run, free of charge, free of charge. And I have a lot of Nick's people doing workforce and facilities. TJO, I know animals and dogs are very near and dear. I know my daughter has a little puppy now, Pumpkin. Now I know what pet owners mean about unconditional love. That is fully funded. Heather Kaline does a great job. We also partner with Chicopee and Holyoke, which we negotiate to get some money from them too. So it's a regional center. The funding for Adoption Center, that's fully open now. And again, the enforcement's out there to keep residents and pets safe in our city. Veterans, Joe DeCarroll, great job. We just had some great Memorial Day services at City Hall Friday. And we're at yesterday with Bishop Byrne for the outdoor mass. And then we were at the Veterans Cemetery in Agawam also. So it's fully funded. The big thing here is that they've been able to successfully place 30 unhoused veterans into permanent housing, and we're going to continue this initiative in partnership with various organizations. Police Department, under our newly minted Police Superintendent Larry Akers, which is at or above parity, by the way. It reflects and represents our community, and I believe, Larry, if I'm correct, we are the most diverse police department, definitely in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, so I'm correct on that. So we have another academy coming up. That's going to be up for 40 or 50, we hope. Been very difficult in recruiting. Last academy that came out, we had 25, and it is still an honorable profession. So that expects to get us up to 429 officers, trying to bring the total complement up to 514. Again, it gets a little difficult because now we're getting behind attrition besides retirements. Things that you love with your neighborhoods. We create, obviously, C3 and the quality flex squad I created when I took over as mayor. Everybody loves that, and we're going to continue to do that. The firearms investigation. Record number of illegal guns taken off the streets, and unfortunately, I hope that trend would subside, but they've done a great job. Body-worn cameras, first in the Commonwealth to do that. All the officers continue to do that. The ordnance squad, Quebec units in our schools, real-time crime analysis, that's across the board now. That's been very helpful. Things you see on TV, we're doing it here. We continue the leadership training, and that's Babson College. That's done by my old friend, retired Chief Justice of the State Supreme Court, Rick Ireland. Judge Ireland does that for supervisors on training. We continue to partner with Behavioral Health Network. We fund that, so we make sure that we have a crew that goes out. If it's a mental health call, then it's dealt with that way with our police officers responding. De-escalation continues training, and with BOLO wraps, peer-to-peer program, our police officers see some bad things. So we continue to have the peer-to-peer program for trauma experiences due to critical incident response. And that was, as a matter of fact, we just had hosted NOBLE, National Association of Black Leadership in Public Safety, Larry and I spoke on, and they spoke of our program there. Narcan, between police and fire, just in police, they've saved nearly 600 lives on a Narcan program. Fire department, again, it is above parity, and it reflects our diverse community. We're continue to do those mini academies at the State Academy, which we partner in the Orchard, so we try to run 1 or 2 academies every year. We're staying pretty good there. We're staying ahead of attrition there. Commissioner Calvi, again, fights left and right for equipment, upgraded equipment, trucks, you name it, proactively replacing equipment, The fire turnout gear, health and wellness program continues. Lease payments for the fire apparatus, thank you, City Council, on that. Because to order a truck now could take you 1.5 to 2 years now to get a truck. We formed the TAC units, which lessens the wear and tear of our major trucks. They respond to a lot of the medical responses out there, and again, opioid and Narcan they use to administrate. Dispatch 911, Deputy Hess has taken that over. Deputy Wells just retired. It's combined. It's been fantastic in cross-training that occurs, and that has gone very well. And we're also able to maintain the 911 Smart. So these are some of the highlights of the budget. And again, I appreciate your due diligence. We need to be prepared. I think this is a sound budget. I do worry, and I think Kathy will tell you too, I do worry about FY26, and that's where we might need to utilize those rainy day funds moving forward. I hope I'm wrong. But it's a lot of things in the budget. And when you look upon it as I open out, I will close. The inflation rate is 3.5, 3.6%. You take out the 2 budget busters, which again, the state, it's been decades that the state has funded any type of busing transportation. And we have to get our kids to school. And on the bid, there's only one bid on it. And we continue to make sure we tighten the contract. But you take that out, our budget goes up 2.5%. And as you saw on the Bible that was given to you, see some departments came in flat or maybe a little above on that. So that gives you a complete overview. I'll take any questions or comments, whether myself or CAFO Kathy Bono or the cabinet heads or departments. But I appreciate your due diligence and your review, and I will continue to work with you to continue to bring as much responsible tax relief as we can bring to our residents and our business community. So thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for your patience and your indulgence.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Madam Clerk, can you recognize the counselor in seat number 3 and 7 and 8?
Counselor Delgado? Present. Counselor Davila? Counselor Kern?
Present. Present.
No, there was something.
Present.
Can you call Counselor Davila again, Madam Clerk?
Counselor Davila? I can't hear him, but I
Yeah,
can see that he is.
Counselor Davila, if you're here, we can't hear you.
Present.
Okay. Well, until we can get that figured out with Counselor Davila's audio, let's move on, Madam Clerk. Any questions
Present.
from the council for the mayor or comments about this year's presented budget? Counselor Allen?
Thanks, Mr. President. Thanks, Mr. Mayor, for everything that you do to make this place go. Appreciate it. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
And thanks to everybody here and people who aren't here for the service you provided. We're part of a great city, and we're all proud of it. Not just you guys on that side of the fence, but us over here. And it's what makes we're proud of everybody. We're proud of the services. We're proud of who we are as Springfield, Mass, and some of the things we've had to overcome. Unfortunately, we have this other job, which is fiscal oversight. So it's hard for us to sit here and compliment everything that's going on, even though we want to, and I am, but without thinking about the other side of it, which is how do we provide the fiscal oversight that is required of us? That's our job, a big part of our job. And so when the budget comes out, 3 weeks ago, I was in the room when the mayor presented the budget publicly, et cetera, and we all get our copy of it, and it's an imposing document. It's full of great information. It's an imposing document, and we have to figure out what are we going to do with this thing. And that's a hard place to start. For years, I worked with TJ Plant. I was chair of finance a few times along the way, And we have now a new CAFO who I've really enjoyed working with, Kathy Buono. And the fiscal team of Pat Burns and Lindsay and the people behind them and Patrick Greenhall, et cetera. It's a great team. It just, when you sit down to talk about, when they present something that they've worked on, and we have to try to find some places we can maybe make it better, it's a hard conversation. That conversation started, Kathy called me about a week and a half ago, and we sat down and with Pat and Lindsay, and we started to see where is there some room here, where's there some potentials. And we met, I'd say 3 times, including Friday of Memorial Day weekend. We met till like 4:40, the 4 of us plus Steve Lonergan. And we were making some headway, but we weren't there yet. Of course, nobody wants, Amir gives us, his marching orders of what he'd like to see is no layoffs, no service reductions, and no use of reserves. So those are 3 things that are, we agree with them all, but it's kind of like, how do you make the budget better? What are the things that we can, work with, kind of thing. So we tried to work with them, and nobody wants to lay anybody off. I mean, all this stuff is, so how do you find a place to maybe make it better without impacting any of the services, any of the people? And that's what Kathy and Pat and Lindsay and I were doing for a week and a half. My main contract or communication back to the council was through Mike, who we happen to be, he's the president, he's also a good friend, so we talk on a regular basis. But it was hard for everybody to find the time to have the conversation. We started to break through a little bit on Friday, and this morning I called Mike. We talked for an hour and a half this morning about 9 o'clock. And I asked him to get involved and talk to Kathy, because I said, I'm gone as far as I can go by myself, really. And there are other counselors around. Obviously, we could have done it a different way, but the way I was doing it, it was hard to, I couldn't invite any members of the Finance Committee in, because then it would be a, what do you call it?
Quorum.
Open meeting.
Yeah, whatever, thank you. So we made some headway today, and we're here to present something I think that everybody will like. We hope it will be. And I talked to 10 of the counselors today. The other 3 that I didn't talk to got calls from me, or someone spoke to them on my behalf. And I appreciate my colleagues for kind of going along, hearing this, trying to come up with something that's easy to vote for, that helps achieve some of the goal of reducing the budget a little bit, and responding to the taxpayers. Some of you may have been here in December when we were voting on the taxes, and we had that hearing where about 9 or 10 people came and spoke at the microphone that the mayor's at now. 3 of them were crying, visibly, emotionally crying. And that seriously affected me, and it made me remember that not everybody out there that I'm representing is in the same financial position that I'm in. Not that I'm in a great one, but I'm in a good one. And we have to think of everybody else. So here's what we did. On Friday, we started to talk about open requisitions, vacancies, whatever you want to call them. Not positions that people are in, positions that we might hire somebody into if we get to that point during the year. And we found a kind of a middle ground. And I talked to Mike this morning. He talked to Kathy. Kathy talked to me. The crew that was meeting regularly, we met at noontime today. Kathy was going to meet the mayor at 1 o'clock with the ideas we had out of the noontime meeting. And kudos to the mayor for throwing the $1 million on the table for tax relief, and also going along with the ideas we had. That was a huge concession from him to kind of keep the conversation going. When you're not talking to each other, you have no chance of agreement. When you're talking to each other, you have some chance. And we were able to get pretty far, I think. So I'm going to read to you, this is a memo that Kathy Buono wrote to the City Council today. She gave me a written copy of it here, and it'll explain, if I read this one paragraph, to address concerns regarding budget and specifically FTE growth for fiscal year 25, We want to reiterate what the city already does during the fiscal year. We maintain a high level of oversight and management on all FTE additions, reductions, backfills, and changes, both through monthly personnel review committee meetings and as part of the budget process. However, there is the opportunity to review current vacant positions, possibly introduce some job sharing initiatives, and potentially eliminate some positions that may no longer be a benefit to the city throughout the fiscal year. With that in mind, we've committed to more effectively manage our FTE growth in fiscal year 25 by not filling 17 positions, estimating a surplus of $750,000. With this managed surplus, we will commit $750K to tax levy relief during fiscal year 25. So that, I hope, is received well by all people here, no matter who you represent. That's the middle ground, if you will, where we reduce some salary, that we don't reduce any positions, nobody loses a job, but we have a lot of open recs, and all of you know how hard it is to fill them, because we get comments that you can't fill positions because of residency and this and that lands on us, and it's just generally not easy. People seem more willing to move around and stuff and leave jobs, et cetera. It's a weird time to used to maybe have a job that people would value maybe and hope that they got the job to never leave it. And it seems like people are more willing to move and stuff now. So it's been more challenging. And you certainly know more about that than I do. But that's what we came up with, that we would, so I'll just read right from Kathy's memo. We asked for the City Council to support the mayor's recommended budget, and we are happy to have had a continued dialogue with City Council to address these issues, among others. We respect the time and diligence afforded to this process by the Council as you exercise your responsibility for fiscal oversight over the city's budget. So that's the proposal that I've got, that reduction of open positions combined with $1 million from the mayor, that those adjustments be made to the budget that we were presented with, and whatever adjustments need to be made to the budget itself. To do that I defer to Kathy and Lindsay, et cetera, for how that gets done. But that's my proposal that I would ask for support of. And I talked to most of you today, so appreciate everybody seemed to be in support of that. So that's my position, Mr. Mayor. Mr. President.
Oh, thank you, Councilor Allen. Councilor Santinello?
Just a question. Have we identified the 17 jobs that won't be filled, or the job sharing? Do we have a list? How does that work?
Council, we're still working out the mechanism, but we have not, and for the council to actually pick the 17 jobs, you'd have to cut from each department. So it's going to be the finance team that's going to identify jobs with the department heads. And I made the commitment to the mayor and to Councilor Allen that on a monthly basis, I will be meeting with department heads and their finance staff. Surprise. And I will be meeting with the city council finance team quarterly to update you on those and those positions. And we're going to be working with Councilor Davila on his revenue pilot and new revenue committee. We spoke to Councilor Click Bruce and Councilor Whitfield this morning, and we're going to be working with them and hopefully Patrick from assessors, working toward tax relief and what we can do in the future. And as the mayor said, he is not digging his heels like he does sometimes. He is willing to work with you, and we have $1 million available in free cash that he can commit right now to show his good faith that he is willing to work on that. So we have $5.7 million in the free cash, but we right now have a commitment to Abbey Brook for $4.7. FEMA has denied the reimbursement. It was a water main break. We are still working, Chris Signoli is still working with FEMA, and the governor has appealed that decision, but as of right now, we are responsible for the entire 4.7. So the only amount available for the mayor to commit to this budget in free cash is $1 million right now until we hear more about Abbey Brook, because it is our responsibility to fund that.
And that gets you up to three, with Counselor Allen's initiative, that gets you up to 3.75 million to start. Again, we try to do the best we can without being fiscally irresponsible.
Thank you, Mayor.
Just to
Councilor
follow up
Santinelli.
on that. So we've identified, well, we haven't identified 17 of the jobs yet. We came up with 17.
We will throughout the process,
Throughout the
yes.
process. And then you mentioned, Tim, about job sharing in that memo.
That was Kathy's memo,
It was
yeah.
just something we'll look at, and I'm going to meet with the department heads to find out. We're also going to look on what services we do in-house, and would it be financially better if we outsourced it, or some things we outsource, is it better if we take it in-house? We're going to be looking at everything over the next year to see any, we understand that the budget's going up. We understand that it's not sustainable. We understand that we've increased it less this year than we did last year. From 2023 to 24, the city side grew 5.8%. This year, the city side only grew 3.9. We understand that we cannot continue growing, but we're going to have to spend the next year trying to figure out a good way to control those because we don't know what the future is. We are making a lot of money right now on investments. You know, the federal government could increase interest rates, you know, lower them 3 times next year. We have no way of knowing that. So, you know, we do understand that some of our revenues are high right now, and that may not be in the future. So we're going to look at everything.
Mr. President, when I hear the term outsourcing, do we have a problem with these could potentially be union jobs?
I don't know, Counselor. We're going to look at everything.
could
But no, I
potentially.
absolutely would not. Bill Mahoney would fall over if I said I'm cutting union jobs. So no, we're going to be looking at everything, and we do take into consideration what jobs are union and what jobs are non-bargaining. I just want the council to know that everything's on the table for us to look at, and of course, we will pull in any department that we need to. Bill will be a big part of that if we are looking to cut jobs, et cetera.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Councilor Govan.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Mayor Sarno, for your presentation once again. I'm excited about the prospect of what Councilor Allen has proposed, and Kathy has been on board in your support, Mr. Mayor. I know that there have been great strides made in our budget since from bankruptcy to balance, right? And this is my 3rd budget that I've sat on. And this is the, I think, first year that I've been able to really look at it and really maybe get some opinions on and talk to people. So what I'm seeing in the budget, of course, and I think Kathy heard me when I said this before, is that this increase every year is not sustainable to our city, to our taxpayers. Councilor Allen commented on the 11 residents that came to us on November 28th of last year. And I cannot forget that meeting because that was the meeting that I think for the first time, more of our counselors came into the realization that a lot of our homeowners are suffering, right? Homeowners who have worked, some of them for the city of Springfield, and now are retired, and now can't afford to pay their taxes because every year it has gone up. And I will name them again, right? Erica Cruz was here, Rhonda Hall, Esther Hudson, Tanisha Morris, Susan Montmarie, Freddie Lopez came and spoke. Lorraine Crump is the person that I believe that Councilor Allen was talking about. Kimberly Caldwell and Ruth Ann Hamilton Stutz, who we all know. They all presented themselves and shared their story of the struggle that they face paying these property taxes. And today we got a report from Mr. Richie Allen, who basically broke it down. He said that, you know, the proposed tax levy of $275 million plus dollars, it's an increase of over $19 million from last year. So this increase, we can't continue to sustain it. And I was talking to Councilor Whitfield earlier, and last year we know that 36% of Springfield homeowners are cost burdened from their ability to pay taxes. So if we could find a way somehow, maybe to use the money that you're proposing and maybe later on more money to help that 36%, right? Because we know not everybody needs relief. but to look at them, because I know we do have some programs. Patrick Greenhall and I and Council Whitfield went on a little tour and told everyone about the programs that are out there. A lot of them don't qualify because maybe they make $20 too much, which is not reasonable. So they're still struggling to pay. They don't qualify for those programs. So if there's some way that we can look at something like that so that we can help our residents who are burdened and who are talking about leaving Massachusetts, leaving Springfield because of it. You know, it's really a sad day when we think about, you know, people who work their whole lives in our city and now have to leave because, you know, we're not really thinking about them and trying to find a way to help them. So I appreciate your consideration at this point. I appreciate what you've done so far. And I would just ask us to continue to remember those 11 people that came last November, so that we can continue to think about how we can best run our city and keep our residents in a place where they can stay here. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Govan. Councilor Click Bruce, then Councilor Brown. Councilor Click Bruce.
Thank you, Council President. Thank you, Mayor, and your whole team. I just wanted to make a comment on the budget. I'm happy that the mayor, because one of my things was really tax relief, and I know that's near and dear to the mayor's heart as well. But I also want to commend the team when we reached out to Kathy Bono and some others on the team. They right away took the meeting without hesitation and started having this conversation early, and not in November, December, even October. So for me, I think that's important, and the administration has been more than happy to speak with us, because like Councilor Allen said, without a conversation, we get nowhere. So I think this is a great first step. The budget, I think I'm overall pleased with it because we have our services that are in place. Our parks look great. Our city looks good. But if we can get some more tax relief for our residents, I think that would be great. And I think it's a great first step with Mayor with putting up that first $1 million, and also Councilor Allen with coming up with some other solutions as well. So I think we need to work together, and I think that's happening. So again, thank you, Mayor, and also to your cabinet heads and the whole team. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Click Bruce. Councilor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, I want to thank you, Mayor, for always continually being a people's mayor. If you come in my area, you can see the parks, brand new. You can see the roads. I think we got every street almost paved. We got the safe crosswalks. We got probably about 2 brand new ones. So I do commend you for paying good attention to my area. One thing, even with the taxes, I know it's very difficult when it comes to budgeting, and sometimes it is what it is. I kind of would lean a little bit even with my colleagues. I was wondering, is it possible to do more of a targeted tax relief that would aid probably seniors, people of a certain age, where they would be able, could we play with it? Because I would want, myself, I would prefer to give some of my tax relief to seniors. Is there a way we can kind of like give it to a certain age? Because I've always said at one point I would want to do away with taxes for the seniors. Is there a way where we can target the certain group of maybe ages where we can give them more of a tax break?
I'm going to have Patrick speak on it. Again, there's a number of abatements, statutory abatements that you go after from the state. There's timelines. You also have to have financial qualifications, because, and some of our seniors are struggling, and as Councilor Govan indicated, I want to help them. You have others that, you know, have done well, and God bless them. And it's not, if you, many times will say to our seniors, Patrick's great in his team. They call people, they get back to people all the time. We need to see this information. Sometimes I see LeVar shaking his head now. Well, I don't want to give you that information. So it's got to go to people that really need it. But working with the council now, 70 to 65 years old, 500 to 1,000. But I'll let Patrick, our chief chairman, speak of it, because you have state statutes and things, timelines that you have to abide by, that we have to abide by.
Hi, Councilor. Yes, so we do have some programs that are targeted for ages. So, for example, the 41C program, the City Council, we did adopt a resolution that lowered the age, as the mayor said, from 70 to 65 and doubled the amount from $500 to $1,000. So that is for someone over the age of 65. There are income and asset restrictions to that. But what Councilor Gouvan and Councilor Whitfield and I, what we did really on that tour was really talk about a state program called the Circuit Breaker. And that has a much higher threshold of an income a maximum amount. And what that looks at essentially is your total income and also the total of your real estate, your total real estate tax bill, and 50% of your water sewer bill. And if those two numbers are greater than 10% of your income, thank you, sorry, 10% of your income, then you are actually entitled to a taxable refund from the state. And a lot of people are not aware of this, so we really tried to educate as many people over 65 as we could with that.
Thank you.
You do have to show, Mr. Attorney, you do have to show your financial records. And that's at times where people become hesitant. So if you qualify, besides the city abatements, you have widowers abatements, you have veterans abatements. Again, those have to be filed every year and in a timely fashion. The state gives us a window, I believe it's 45 days, Patrick, am I correct? So on top of that, you might be able to qualify on a state abatements if you show them all the criteria at that point in time. But working with the council, we doubled to 1,000, and they've cut the age down to 65, from 70 to 65.
Thank you, Mayor.
And I had just a couple more. The water situation, I've been studying that for a while, and studies say that if you truly want to keep clean, feasible water, you have to truly invest in it. I know that we're having a hard time with there's certain issues I know with our water. I know that it's expensive. Are we targeting something to combat some of the water issues that I mean, we all know down, like Tommy, everyone knows down the line, we're going to have issues with water.
Well, again, that's their own entity there, and we just finished doing York Street, the overflow on that. It was about $140 million. The water filtration plant, the new one's going to be about $350 million, and that's a combination of obviously what we pay as water rate users, and also federal money is involved in that and some state money. Many a times, and maybe Chris Signoli can elaborate, they're able to garner low interest loans on that figure. But you have to, again, you see what happened in Flint, Michigan. You see what happened down in Mississippi there, where investments were not made, and in order to keep costs way down, and then you ended up having a terrible water system, and you ended up having, I think in Flint, people going to jail on it. So it's something, you have to spend money, but you have to invest in it. We try to be fair. I know water and sewer, again, it's a separate entity. They offer a number of abatement programs and discounts that you can apply for. But the York Street has been completed. That's for the many of the industrial towns of the 1850s up and down the Connecticut River faced that discharge. So that's been done. The other plant was the water filtration plant in Westfield will start. It's about $350 million. And that's going to increase. And I have to say, people say it all the time when they go away. I mean, we do have one of the best water systems in the United States of America. The other thing also, our water system is extremely important for economic development. I know in the Orchard area with Eastman, Susha there, that was key. We got them to be able to expand because they had to have the water source going there. So I think that they put a capital plan, Chris, together 6-7 years where the increases of, they said about $6 a year, 5 something or 8? Yeah, on it, and that was something presented to the council too. And this goes all for the investment. You have some piping that was put together 100 years ago on it. But you saw what happened when we had that Abbey Brook major water main break that really cut off half the city. and we had to go to the boil water order, and I think we supplied well over 2,000 cases to residents that were in need. But they worked quickly, DPW, I give Chris's team a lot of credit, and the water and sewer, they worked quickly to get that resolved, testing and get it back online. I have spoken to Governor Healy Zamora and Lieutenant Governor Kim Driscoll a while ago that whatever they can do to continue to advocate on the federal level, and of course Congressman Neal too. They did okay, I think it was Worcester, and what was the other county? Leominster area over there. Hamden County was not okayed by FEMA. They're looking at this mitigation grant or loan fund. We'll try to get if something could come our way. I know from the tornado days, as I opened about the 13th, marking of the 13th anniversary of the tornado this Saturday, that devastating EF3 tornado. I remember in those days, I had to appeal things 5-6 times before we were able to get it. But we're obligated. We had to make sure we had that water main up and running for the residents in the business community, and we did. And we had the water back within a day and a half, Chris. You got to do testing. They had to do three testings on it. So that's about $4.7 or $4.8 million that we had to front that money.
And I just one more. Coming from a background, my father, retired Captain Larry Brown. I still want to be. I understand that there are civilians who actually work for the police station. And I'm okay with the budget, but I'm just curious, how many people, civilians, are there that works with the police station? Is it about 90?
Superintendent Akers, would you want to handle? I think sworn. Let me go back to my scribble notes here on police.
I would think
we'd
it's
have
90.
5. We're trying to get the 514 sworn personnel, so it would be under about 90 something, under 100. Police Superintendent Akers, about 90 or so, yes. And again, our major focus, and I know Superintendent Akers feels the same way, and past superintendents with Clapprood and Barbieri and Fitchett, we wanted to make sure we had cops on the street. So where we were able to civilianize, we did. And just look at the success of the combined 911 dispatch that we've done there. There's more cops on the street. And again, in the old days, taking that test, and I think Councilor Santinello or Councilor Walsh, we've been around for a little while. Brian, Councilor Santinello, 1,200 to 1,500 would take that test. Now, Superintendent Akers, we're lucky if we get 250 taking the test or exam. Yeah. So that's where we're at when it comes to the recruitment.
And I mentioned also civilians because a lot of times, me myself, when you think of the police station, you truly don't think that there's actually moms and dads and uncles and aunts, regular civilians that actually keep the police station also running. I also know on their behalf, they don't have unions or anything, correct?
No, you have unions, and I think there's very few that would be
that don't.
non-bargaining.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would just, I know the budget is done, but I would just would stress the fact that maybe when it comes to certain vacation times, throw them a vacation time. It's not going to cost you guys anything. Help them a little bit more with their retirement plan. I just, make sure that the actual civilians that work there aren't forgotten. So I'm just, so you guys, if you guys can please try to give them a vacation time, get them something. Don't forget about the civilians. But I want to thank you for your work and just continue to do what you're doing. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Brown.
Thank you, Councilor Brown. Councilor Walsh.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I, like my colleagues, would like to thank the mayor and the financial team for their presentation. But I'd also like to thank all the department heads that came to our city council meeting that have made this process easier to deal with. But like Councilor Allen, I think all of us feel quite a responsibility to help out our constituents. And it is a delicate balance to keep core services and no cuts at the same time, look out for tax relief. And I think that tonight's motion, I assume it will be a motion, tonight's motion by Counselor Allen gives us a little edge of relief that we will be able to do both, supporting this budget. So I plan to vote for it.
Thank you, Counselor Walsh. Counselor Davila.
May I be recognized, Mr. President?
Oh, I forgot. May I ask one more question?
In one moment, Counselor Walsh. We're just trying to get to Counselor Davila here. Counselor Davila, you have the floor.
Thank you. I do believe that I need to be recognized, Mr. President, for the roll call.
Sorry. Focus, we can't seem to hear Counselor Davila. I think
It's muffled from back
yeah, I
here.
think that it's amplifying from the back room, it sounds like.
Okay. I just wanted to make it for the record that I'm present, sir. I wasn't sure you heard me before.
Well, while we're waiting, I'd like to thank Councilor Davila and Council President Fenton and the City Council for increasing the illegal dumping fines. I know you guys couldn't make it to $500, but we caught, Councilor Brown was there, and Mr. Keep Springfield Beautiful. We were able to grab about 20-something people, 28, and about 8 or 9 were from out of town, so candid camera, smile, you're on candid camera.
We saw your
And
candidate.
also with that, about looking at their vehicles there too. But thank you, Council, we worked together on that, and it's,
Thank you, Mayor. Counselor Davila, give it another try.
Yes, Mr. President. Can't you hear me, sir? Can you hear me, Mr. President?
Okay, why don't we return to Counselor Walsh? You were trying to finish
Thank
your
you,
point,
Mr.
Counselor.
President. I had a question about the open positions. Are those all the open positions, or are there still going to be some left in the budget?
No, there are some open positions left in the budget, and some of the positions, they're interviewing for people right now, they've offered and they're onboarding, and then there are open positions in public safety. We're not touching any public safety, police, fire, dispatch, code enforcement, we're not touching any of those.
Yeah, because it seems to me there are some positions that would need to be filled.
Yes, absolutely, and that's why we didn't handpick different positions. We're going to work with the department heads to find out which positions, but we will not be touching public safety. We will not be touching DPW. Those are, and we won't touch any position that would affect services.
Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Walsh. Counselor Govan, followed by Counselor Click-Bruce. Yeah, okay.
Thank you, Mr. President. So again, thank you, Mr. Mayor, the Finance Department, and the department heads. I've worked with many of you, Phil, Chris, Pete Kruchek. He's my favorite because he loves Indian Orchard.
you hear that, Pete? I know you're on Zoom. There'll be an ass coming your way, I'll tell you right now.
You know that.
Thank you,
No,
Mr.
but
President.
what I was wondering, because from last year's data, it came out that 36% of our residents aren't able to afford their property taxes. So I'm wondering if there's a way that, as a city, since the money is discretionary, so you could use it any way you want, is there a way for us to put something in place where we can help the cost-burdened homeowners without all the, the barriers that are in place currently with the income guidelines, the age maybe, but I don't know, something like that. I was just wondering if that's possible.
Well, I really only have about $167 million to work with. About $145 million is already encompassed on the big departments, public safety and parks, DPW, libraries, which would, in essence, and then you have the other expenses you have to pay, which in essence leaves you about 20-something $million. But I think Patrick, our chairman of the Assessors, Board of Assessors, indicated there are numerous programs you could take advantage of if
But
you
those
meet the
have
criteria.
those have the income restrictions. Well, I'm thinking of the 2,750,000 that we're proposing tonight.
No, it's 3.75.
3.75.
Right,
So
to start,
maybe that,
to start.
to start, right.
Yeah.
So maybe use some of that or that to help that 36%. Because those programs that are great programs, but the income guidelines, like I said, I think one of my constituents reached out to me and she said she was over by like $5, so she didn't qualify.
So this is exactly what we talked to
Right.
Councilor Whitfield, like Bruce, about, and I intend to start these conversations with assessors
Okay.
right away to
Excellent.
see if there is something we can do, what legally we can do.
Right.
And then identify a source. So
Okay.
I think that's absolutely a conversation we can all
great.
have, and I think we, and I appreciated Councilor Whitfield and Cliff Bruce bringing that up. Like, is there something we can do? They emphasized the low income, the elderly, just like Councilor Brown did. So we do intend to start looking at that right away with the assessor's office to see if there is anything we can do, legally do, to help direct those funds to the people who definitely need it.
Okay, that's great. That's really good to hear. And I think a lot of times we think about low income or, you know, people who are getting assistance, but some of these people are not low income. They, like I said, are retired from the city. They're on a fixed income, of course. Their income is not going to increase, but because of the increases that we've had over the years, they cannot afford their property taxes reasonably. You know, somehow they might be paying them, maybe they're behind. Somebody's going to lose their house because of this, and we don't want to see that happen. So I'm thinking about those people specifically.
Right, and I came from community development, and I saw people who qualified, and I saw people who were like $10 over, $20
exactly.
over, you know, when they stood at our counter
Right,
crying.
right.
There is a group that does, so
Yeah,
I think we
thank
can all
you.
work together to try. I don't know if there is an answer, I can't commit to anything, but I can commit that the assessor's department, the mayor's office, and
I
we will work with the
appreciate that.
council to see if we can identify something.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Govan. Councilor Delgado hasn't been heard from yet. If it's okay with you, Councilor Cliff Bruce. Councilor Delgado.
Thank you, Mr. President. And thank you, Mr. Mayor. This being my first budget, this has been a pretty interesting experience, so thank you to Kathy Bono and many of the folks in your team who've been super open and to meeting and whatnot. I appreciate all the efforts that have been done to get us to this point. As I'm looking at the numbers, it sounds like I'm hearing from what Councilor Allen said with the $750K reduction, the $1 million in tax relief, and then was it $2 million? from-
3.75 total to start right now, yeah.
So as I look at this and I look at where we're at, based off of last year's budget, when we were around, what were we, 870 something? And we put down $7 million in free cash to offset the taxes last year. So this year we're going to 928. We're about now, we're looking at roughly 3.75, so we still have a 3.25 gap based off of last year's budget, not including the increase to this year. So that tells me, obviously, that taxes are going up, and so I sympathize with our folks, particularly the folks that came in November that I heard about, but also folks that I know who are limited on income. And I know that you guys have been diligent in terms of thinking about next fiscal year. You see what's happening in the state. I've read a bunch of things. I mean, I saw Walmart actually beat their quarterly revenue because they saw an increase in folks that don't usually shop at Walmart, which is higher, you know, middle income and higher class folks actually shopping at Walmart because they need to start tightening their belt. And I even read that McDonald's is feeling the pinch. So when I see this, it's happening. Everybody's pinching. When we have our budget, we cut back, and I still see a 2.5% increase on our side. It still makes me a little uneasy in terms of how to explain that to residents. But I appreciate the fact that we're working together. Though I guess my question, is maybe for Pat, is what does this look like for us? And I know you can't estimate what property taxes are going to be, but what does this look like for us in the fall if we were basing it on what we have now?
Yeah, that's a question that obviously we all want answered, but unfortunately, it's not an answer that I can provide, and there's a couple of reasons for that. So first, we don't actually determine our assessment. Our assessed values are based on what is physically there as of June 30th, so a month from now. So we don't even know, we haven't even taken a snapshot of what properties are taxable. So that's kind of the first problem. Then we are also a split rate community where we shift the burden from the residential to the commercial, industrial, and personal property class. And we don't know proportionately like how those values are relating to each other.
Is there a limit on that side in terms of how far you can go one way? In terms
Yes, so the max shift for Springfield is 1.75. We are pretty close to that. We were pretty close to it last year. We just kind of kept splitting the difference the last few years. So that's sort
So
of
we're
two.
close to that on the commercial side, which means we're going to have to do more on the residential side?
No, that we're shifting the maximum that we can from the levy from the residential side to the commercial side.
Okay.
Right.
Okay, thank you for explaining that. The second piece I asked, which is about consulting fees. I know I asked Kathy that maybe a week or so ago, and I think Pat Burns sent us a thing, so I appreciate that you guys sent the information in terms of the professional services. Does that encompass everything outside that we pay for in terms of consulting?
That's everything under, yes.
And I know that was
The general
about $10.7 million. Do we have an idea of what that's going to be in fiscal '25?
Maybe will go up, I don't know if Pat has a guess, what the consultants would go up in the next fiscal year.
I think it's, unfortunately, Counselor, it's a case-by-case basis, but some of the contracts do have like CPI escalators in there, things like that.
So I guess as part of the kind of overview that we're going to do in terms of the positions, can we also look at some of those? Because I'd be interested to know, you know, I know for some of them, we need them. I know in the law department, we've hired a lot of folks because we're having challenges hiring there. And so I'm curious to know, one, the cost-benefit analysis in terms of paying external folks versus paying our own internal folks. Are we saving? Are we spending more money? It'd be good to know that from the professional services side. So I'd like that to be part of that conversation. And then the last question I had, which was around the school transportation contract. So I know in the council, we voted maybe a couple months ago to allow the school department to negotiate, I think it was a 5-year deal on the contract to get a better bid. But it sounds like we only got one bidder. Do we know if that was a 5-year contract or a 3-year contract?
When it went out to bid, it went that you bid on the 5 years, so they did bid on the 5 years. We were what the school department was hoping, I don't know if they're on here, is that they would encourage more bids, because if you had to buy equipment, it allowed the company to spread the debt out across 5 years if they had to buy new vehicles, et cetera. Unfortunately, they only had one bidder, the same bidder for a student, so you know, they're working with the state to try to increase competition because most cities and towns only get one or two. But unfortunately, that's what it came in at.
All right. Thank you. No other questions.
Thank you, Councilor Delgado. Councilor Click Bruce.
Thank you, Council President. I'd like to move the question to vote for the budget, please.
Second motion.
Okay, there's a motion made by Councilor Click Bruce to move the question, seconded by Councilor Edwards. Madam Clerk, roll call on moving the question.
Point of order, Mr. President.
Councilor Davila, point of order.
Sure, may I be recognized, sir?
Not on a move the question motion. Once move the question has been called, we go through the motion.
On moving the question, Counselor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Delgado.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Click Bruce.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Curran. He did.
Let's mark,
Counselor
we
Curran.
can't hear that, so let's mark Councilor Curran down as absent for that, please, Madam Clerk.
Counselor
That's a yes.
Away. Counselor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield, absent. Counselor Perez, absent. Counselor Fenton.
Yes, and also Counselor Santinella, Madam Clerk.
Oh, Counselor Santinella.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, more than sufficient. Motion is approved. Madam Clerk, please call the roll on the mayor's fiscal year 2025 budget.
On approval of the budget for FY25, Counselor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Delgado.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Click Bruce.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Curran.
Yes. Yes.
I can see you mouthing yes and shaking your head. Counselor Santinella.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield absent. Counselor Perez absent. Counselor Fenton.
Yes, more than sufficient. Mayor's budget is adopted as proposed.
Thank you very much,
Thank you,
Councilman.
Mayor.
Now that I have you at the microphone, I have to say something, Dominic. Yesterday, it came across the wire service, U.S. World News and Report, that Springfield, Massachusetts was ranked 39th out of 150 cities as the best place to retire. So I want to commend all your department heads and you. Hats off to you.
Thank you, Counselor Santinella. Madam Clerk, we have 3 other items.
Thank
you,
you
Mr. Mayor.
again. Thank you,
Appreciate it.
Mr. President. Thank you,
You're all,
Councilors.
actually, we'll take a 2-minute recess so that the department heads can depart. Kathy, if you and your team wouldn't mind staying for these last few items.
Item number 2 is the FY25 Budget Order Enterprise Fund.
Thank you, Mr. President. This order is to approve our enterprise fund budget totaling $13,755,243.
Thank you, Lindsay. Any comments or questions from the council on the adoption of the enterprise fund budget? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, roll call, please, on approval of the budget.
On approval of the order, Counselor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Delgado.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Click Bruce.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown. Away, Counselor Davila. Away, Counselor Curran.
Yes.
There you go.
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Santinello. Away, Counselor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield absent. Counselor Perez absent. Counselor Fenton.
Yes, more than sufficient. Enterprise fund budget is approved. Item number 3, Madam Clerk.
Item number 3 is FY25 revolving fund budget order.
Ms. Haskett.
Thank you. This order is to approve the spending limits for our 6 enterprise funds within the city.
Any questions or comments from the council on the enterprise funds? Revolving funds. Okay, seeing none, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
On approval of the order, Counselor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Delgado.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Click Bruce.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown. Away, Counselor Davila. Present, and yes on the revolving funds? Or are you abstaining?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Curran?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Santinello.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield, absent. Counselor Perez, absent. Counselor Fenton.
Yes, more than sufficient. Revolving funds are approved. Madam Clerk, the last item, item number 4.
The last item is a FY25 budget, also retained earnings.
Ms. Hackett.
Thank you. So this order is to transfer $265,284 of FY23 retained earnings to offset the cost of the enterprise fund.
Will the clerk please recognize the counselor in seat number 11?
Counselor Whitfield.
Present.
Present.
Any comments or question on item number 4? Okay, seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
On approval of the order, Counselor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Delgado.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Click Bruce.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Govan.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Curran.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Santinello.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Perez, absent. Counselor Fenton.
Yes, more than sufficient. Order is approved. Any more business, Madam Clerk?
There is none.
Okay, council, we will stand adjourned. I'm going to cancel the 2 special meetings that were scheduled for Wednesday and Thursday. We've completed our statutory responsibilities in the budget. Thank you all for participating in the 5 budget meetings that we held. Council's next meeting is a regular meeting scheduled for Monday, June 3rd, starting at 7 p.m. Thank you and good night.